Amanda Harrison slammed the custody termination papers onto the table in front of Sarah, champagne sloshing from her glass onto the legal documents. "Sign it, now, before my guests finish their appetizers." Her diamond ring, 12 carats, worth more than Sarah's annual salary, caught the light as she grabbed Sarah's wrist, squeezing hard enough to leave marks. "You think carrying my babies gives you rights? You're nothing, a nobody I married for paperwork. My father owns half of California, and you're about to lose everything you've ever touched." She shoved an expensive pen into Sarah's pregnant belly, not hard enough to injure, but hard enough to make her point. $50,000. Sign away my twins, or my lawyers will prove you're mentally unfit by morning, and you'll get nothing. But before we continue with what happened next, if you want to see how Sarah fights back against this betrayal, please subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. And comment below with your city name so I can see how far this story travels. Now let's see exactly how Sarah's world came crashing down. Sarah had received the dinner invitation 3 days earlier. A simple text from Amanda. "We need to talk about the twins. Dinner Thursday at Cicada, 7 p.m. Just us. Please come." For 6 months, ever since Amanda walked out of their marriage, Sarah had been hoping for exactly this message. A chance to talk. A chance to fix whatever had broken between them. A chance to rebuild something, anything, for the sake of their unborn children. She had spent hours choosing what to wear, settling on a navy maternity dress that Amanda had once said brought out her eyes. She had practiced what she would say in the car, how she would stay calm, how she would listen, how she would fight for their family. The valet had taken her 10-year-old Honda Civic with barely concealed disdain, and Sarah had felt that old familiar shame creeping up her neck. Amanda had always driven luxury cars, explaining that her graphic design clients expected a certain image. Sarah had never questioned it. She had never questioned a lot of things. The elevator ride to the rooftop had been smooth and silent. The doors opened to reveal not an intimate table for two, but a party in full swing. White flowers everywhere, string lights, a jazz quartet, beautiful people in clothes that cost more than Sarah's monthly rent. And at the center of it all, Amanda, in a white cocktail dress that probably cost $5,000, wrapped in the arms of a man Sarah had never seen before. "Sarah, you came," Amanda had said, detaching herself from the man and gliding over. Up close, Sarah could see that Amanda looked better than she ever had during their marriage. Her skin glowed. Her hair was professionally styled. Her makeup was flawless. She looked like someone who had been released from prison. "This is Marcus Chen, my fiancé. We wanted you to meet before the wedding next month." The words had hit Sarah like a physical blow. Fiancé, wedding, next month. "Amanda, what is this?" Sarah had managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. "You said we were having dinner. You said we needed to talk about the twins." "We are talking about the twins," Amanda replied, her voice taking on that edge Sarah remembered from every argument they had ever had. "That's why Richard is here. Marcus and I want to make this as easy as possible for everyone." The attorney had stepped forward then, opening the leather folder to reveal a thick stack of legal documents. "Ms. Mitchell, these are custody termination papers. If you sign tonight, you'll receive $50,000 and be released from all parental obligations to the children. Mrs. Harrison Chen and Mr. Chen will assume full legal and physical custody upon birth." Sarah's mind had gone completely blank. Harrison Chen? Amanda, what is he talking about? Your last name is Wilson. You're Amanda Wilson. For just a second, something that might have been shame flickered across Amanda's face. Then it was gone, replaced by cool indifference. "I went back to my family name after we separated. It seemed appropriate given the circumstances." "What circumstances? What family name?" "Amanda, I don't understand any of this." Marcus Chen had placed a possessive hand on Amanda's waist then. "Perhaps we should speak privately, Sarah. This doesn't need to be a scene." "A scene?" Sarah heard her voice rising despite her best efforts to stay calm. "You ambush me at your engagement party and try to force me to sign away my children, and you're worried about me making a scene?" Amanda's mother had materialized then, a woman Sarah had never met in 4 years of marriage, holding a champagne flute and wearing a dress that probably cost more than Sarah's car. She was older than Sarah expected, elegant in that way that only money could buy, with Amanda's same sharp cheekbones and cold eyes. "Amanda, darling, is this really necessary?" the woman said, not even looking at Sarah. "Can't the attorney simply handle this through proper channels? Having her here is rather tacky." "Mother, I wanted to be kind," Amanda replied. "Sarah put me through hell for 4 years. The least I can do is offer her a way out that doesn't involve lengthy court battles she can't afford." Sarah felt like she was drowning. "Put you through hell? Amanda, I worked 80-hour weeks to support us while you built your design business. I paid for everything. I took care of you when you said your family had disowned you for being gay. I held you every night when you cried about being rejected. What hell are you talking about?" Amanda laughed then, and it was the cruelest sound Sarah had ever heard. "Oh, Sarah, you really believed all of that, didn't you? The struggling artist story, the disowned daughter narrative. God, you were so easy to fool. Do you have any idea who my family is? Amanda Wilson from Portland, who went to art school and had parents who wouldn't accept her sexuality?" Sarah said, hating how her voice cracked. "That's what you told me. That's who you said you were." "I'm Amanda Victoria Harrison," Amanda said, each word crisp and clear. "My father is Robert Harrison, Harrison Properties. We own half the commercial real estate in California. My trust fund is worth $500 million, and I've never been to art school or Portland in my life." The rooftop had gone silent. 150 guests were now openly staring. Sarah could feel her face burning, her heart pounding so hard she worried about the twins. Her doctor had warned her about stress, about keeping her blood pressure down. This couldn't be happening. This had to be a nightmare. "You lied to me," Sarah whispered, "about everything, for 4 years." "Why?" Amanda's face hardened. "Because I needed to be married to access certain trust provisions, family rules, antiquated but binding. You were convenient, stable, boring enough that you'd never ask questions. And yes, you put up with my absences and my mood swings, and you made it very easy to live a double life while I waited for the right opportunity." The right opportunity being him? Sarah gestured at Marcus Chen, who had the decency to look slightly uncomfortable. "Marcus and I have been together for 3 years, Amanda said flatly. "Since before I married you, actually. His family and mine have business dealings. It made sense to wait until the time was right to make things official. But then you had to go and get pregnant. That complicated things." Sarah's hands went to her belly instinctively, protectively. "You asked me to carry. You said you couldn't because of endometriosis. You held my hand through every IVF appointment. You cried when we saw the heartbeats on the ultrasound." "I cried because I realized how much more complicated you'd just made my life," Amanda snapped. "I can't very well access my full inheritance while dragging around someone else's pregnancy. The family lawyers advised me to end the marriage immediately and secure custody to maintain the appearance of stability. Hence, Marcus. Hence, the accelerated timeline. Hence, this conversation." "These aren't someone else's pregnancy," Sarah said, her voice shaking with rage now instead of hurt. "These are our children. We chose this together. We planned this together. You wanted this." "I wanted the appearance of wanting it," Amanda corrected. "There's a difference. Now, are you going to sign these papers, or are we going to do this the hard way?" Richard, the attorney, had stepped forward again, pulling a pen from his jacket pocket. "Ms. Mitchell, I understand this is emotional, but the offer on the table is quite generous. $50,000, all medical expenses covered through delivery, and a clean break. If you refuse, Mrs. Harrison Chen is prepared to fight for full custody, and I assure you, the Harrison legal team has never lost a case." "Never?" Sarah repeated numbly. "Never," Richard confirmed. "Mrs. Harrison Chen can provide a stable 2-parent home with unlimited resources. You're a junior associate at a mid-sized firm, currently on unpaid leave due to pregnancy complications, living in a rent-controlled apartment in a questionable neighborhood. No family support system, no savings to speak of. In any custody evaluation, the choice would be clear. Sarah looked at Amanda, really looked at her, and saw a stranger. How had she never seen this? How had she missed every sign, every clue, every moment when the mask must have slipped? "If I sign these, what happens to the twins?" Sarah asked quietly. Amanda waved her hand dismissively. "They'll be well cared for. Best schools, nannies, every advantage. Marcus and I are planning to split time between Los Angeles and Singapore for his business. The children will travel with us, naturally. They'll have opportunities you could never provide. Will you love them?" The question seemed to catch Amanda off guard. For just a second, she hesitated. "They'll be provided for. That's what matters." "No," Sarah said, the word coming out stronger than she felt. "Love is what matters, and you don't love them. You don't even want them. This is about your inheritance, isn't it? Some clause in your trust about being a stable parent?" Amanda's eyes narrowed. "Sign the papers, Sarah. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." "Or what? You'll destroy me in court? Take my children because you can afford better lawyers?" Sarah felt tears starting to fall, but she didn't wipe them away. "You know what the worst part is? I would have given you anything. If you had just told me the truth, if you had just asked, I would have helped you. That's how much I loved you." "Past tense," Amanda noted coolly. "Good. That makes this easier." Marcus Chen had cleared his throat then, looking genuinely uncomfortable for the first time. "Amanda, maybe we should reconsider. Perhaps a shared custody arrangement would be more appropriate." "Stay out of this, Marcus," Amanda snapped. "This is my mess to clean up." "Your mess?" Sarah repeated. "Is that what our marriage was? What our children are?" "Yes," Amanda said simply. "Now sign." Sarah had looked down at the papers in Richard's hands. $50,000. A clean break. No lengthy court battles she couldn't afford. No custody evaluations where she'd be judged and found wanting by people who valued money over love. The practical part of her brain, the part that had gotten her through law school on scholarships and student loans, the part that knew how to calculate odds and weigh options, was screaming that she had no choice. But the part of her that had felt these babies kick every night, that had talked to them and sang to them and promised them they'd be loved unconditionally, that part was screaming something else entirely. "I need a minute," Sarah said, her voice barely audible. "You need to decide now," Amanda replied. "We have a schedule to keep. The engagement photos are in 20 minutes. Sarah had walked to the edge of the rooftop terrace then, looking out over Los Angeles as the sun set in shades of orange and pink. Behind her, she could hear the murmur of voices, the clink of glasses, the string quartet starting a new song. This wasn't her world. It had never been her world. She had just been foolish enough to think love could bridge that gap. Her phone buzzed in her purse. A text from Jen Rodriguez, her best friend since law school. "How's dinner going? Did she apologize yet?" Sarah almost laughed. Apologize. As if this was some simple misunderstanding that could be fixed with sorry and flowers. Another buzz. "Remember, you're stronger than you think. Those babies are lucky to have you." Sarah closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. When she opened them, she had made her decision. She turned back to face Amanda, Marcus, Richard, and the 150 witnesses to her humiliation. "Where do I sign?" she asked. Amanda's smile was triumphant. "Richard, give her the pen." Sarah took the expensive pen and flipped through the pages, her lawyer brain automatically scanning the language even as her heart shattered. Termination of parental rights, $50,000 in exchange for all claims to the minor children. No visitation, no contact, no rights whatsoever. She signed her name on the first line, then the second, then the third. Her hand was shaking so badly the signatures were barely legible, but they would hold up in court. She knew enough about law to know that. "Excellent," Richard said, taking the papers back. "I'll have these filed with the court tomorrow morning. The funds will be transferred to your account within 48 hours, Ms. Mitchell." Amanda had already turned away, back to Marcus and her mother and her perfect life that had never included Sarah as anything more than a placeholder. Sarah stood there holding the pen. this ridiculously expensive pen that probably cost more than her rent, and something clicked in her mind. She was a lawyer, not a family law specialist, but a corporate intellectual property attorney. She had spent 5 years at Chen & Associates before moving to a smaller firm, handling cases involving patent theft, corporate fraud, trade secret misappropriation. She knew how to spot inconsistencies. She knew how to find the patterns people tried to hide. And suddenly, replaying the last 10 minutes in her mind, she saw them everywhere. Amanda had said her trust fund was worth $500 million, that she needed to be married to access it, that there were antiquated family rules about stability and parenthood. But she had also said she'd been with Marcus for 3 years, since before marrying Sarah, which meant Amanda had married Sarah while already in a relationship with the man she actually wanted. Why? Unless the timeline mattered, unless there was something specific about the 4-year marriage, unless this wasn't just about appearing stable, but about meeting specific trust requirements that Amanda had carefully calculated. And the custody push, the urgency, the need for Sarah to sign tonight, before the engagement photos, before the wedding next month. Why the rush if Amanda had all the money and power she claimed? Sarah looked across the rooftop at Amanda, who was posing with Marcus for photos, laughing at something her mother said. She looked happy, relieved, like she had just solved a problem that had been weighing on her. Sarah put the pen in her purse. Later, she would realize it was theft, but in that moment, she was operating on pure instinct. The expensive pen had Marcus Chen's company logo engraved on it, Chen Technologies. The same Chen Technologies that was currently being sued by Sarah's firm for patent infringement in what was shaping up to be a $200 million case. The same Chen Technologies that would benefit enormously from having someone inside Sarah's firm who could access case files and strategy documents. Someone like a spouse who worked there. Sarah's blood went cold. She pulled out her phone and did a quick search. Marcus Chen, engaged to Amanda Harrison. The announcement had gone out today. Sarah's firm would see it tomorrow, and the first thing they would do was check for conflicts of interest. Sarah worked on the Chen Technologies case. She had access to privileged documents. Her marriage to Amanda, even though it had ended, would be flagged immediately. She would be removed from the case at minimum, more likely fired to avoid any appearance of impropriety. This wasn't just about Amanda's inheritance. This was about destroying Sarah's career while securing custody of the twins. 2 birds, 1 stone. Sarah would be jobless and deemed unstable, while Amanda and Marcus would be the perfect couple, ready to provide a wonderful home. "Excuse me," Sarah said, interrupting a conversation between Amanda's mother and another elegantly dressed woman. "I'm sorry, but did you say your name was Harrison? As in Harrison Properties?" Amanda's mother looked at Sarah like she was something unpleasant she'd found on her shoe. "Yes, Catherine Harrison. And you are the unfortunate person my daughter made the mistake of marrying, I presume." "I am," Sarah said, "and I just signed away my parental rights to your grandchildren. Don't you have any questions about that? Any concerns?" Catherine Harrison sipped her champagne. "My concerns are about my daughter's happiness and the family reputation. Amanda has made it clear that this pregnancy was a mistake and that the children will be better off in a proper home. I agree with her assessment." "A proper home," Sarah repeated, "with a mother who lied about her entire identity and a stepfather she's marrying for business reasons? I beg your pardon." Catherine's voice went ice cold. "Amanda told me she's been with Marcus for 3 years. That's before she married me. Which means your daughter married me while in a relationship with him. Why would she do that unless the marriage itself served some purpose? What's in your family trust, Mrs. Harrison? What requirements did Amanda need to meet?" Catherine's face remained impassive, but Sarah saw her hand tighten on her champagne glass. "I have no idea what you're implying." "I'm implying that I was used," Sarah said, her voice rising despite her best efforts to stay calm. "That my marriage was a fraud from day one. That these babies I'm carrying were only ever pawns in whatever game your daughter is playing. And I want to know why." "Lower your voice," Catherine hissed. "You're making a scene." I'm making a scene, Sarah laughed, the sound bordering on hysterical. Your daughter just made me sign away my children at her engagement party to another man, and I'm the one making a scene? Amanda had noticed the commotion now and was heading over, Marcus trailing behind her, looking increasingly uncomfortable. Sarah, what are you doing? I'm asking questions, Sarah said. Questions I should have asked 4 years ago. Who are you really, Amanda? What did you need from me? Why 4 years? Why marriage? Why twins? You signed the papers, Amanda said flatly. This conversation is over. Richard, please escort Ms. Mitchell out. No, Sarah said. Not until you tell me the truth. You owe me that much. I don't owe you anything, Amanda replied. You are compensated for your time and your inconvenience. Now leave before I call security. Sarah looked at the woman she had loved for 4 years, had built a life with, had created children with, and saw only cold calculation. But she also saw something else, nervousness. Amanda wanted her gone quickly, which meant Sarah was close to something Amanda didn't want exposed. The trust, Sarah said slowly, pieces clicking into place. You needed to be married for a certain length of time, didn't you? And you needed to prove you were capable of maintaining a family. That's why the twins. That's why the timing. You're about to turn 30. Amanda's face went pale. You don't know what you're talking about. When's your birthday, Amanda? Sarah pressed. When do you turn 30? 2 weeks from tomorrow, Marcus Chen said quietly, and Amanda shot him a look that could have melted steel. I'm sorry, love, but she deserves to know. This has gone too far. Shut up, Marcus, Amanda snapped. But Sarah was already pulling out her phone, searching. Amanda Harrison. Robert Harrison, daughter. Trust fund. Birthday. The pieces came together in seconds. Amanda Victoria Harrison would turn 30 on the 15th of next month, the same day the Harrison Family Trust made its distributions to eligible heirs. $500 million to any Harrison child who was married, in a stable relationship, and demonstrated intent to raise children. You needed to be married for at least 4 years, Sarah said, the full picture crystallizing. That's the requirement, isn't it? 4 years minimum to prove stability. And you needed to have children or be expecting them. The trust was written by your grandfather probably decades ago, with traditional family values built in. Am I close? Amanda said nothing, but her silence was answer enough. So you married me exactly 4 years and 1 month ago, Sarah continued. Gave yourself a buffer, pretended to want children, went through IVF, got me pregnant with twins to really sell the story. And now, 2 weeks before your 30th birthday, you're dumping me for Marcus, whose family your family does business with, securing both your inheritance and whatever business deal his family wants. Did I miss anything? You're insane, Amanda said, but her voice lacked conviction. Am I? Sarah looked around at the assembled guests, all watching with open fascination now. Is there anyone here who can tell me I'm wrong? Anyone who wants to defend this? Catherine Harrison stepped forward then, her voice low and dangerous. You signed the papers, Ms. Mitchell. Whatever theories you're spinning, don't change that fact. The custody arrangement is settled. The marriage is over. And if you continue to harass my daughter, I will personally ensure you never work as an attorney in this state again. Do I make myself clear? Sarah met the older woman's eyes and saw the same cold calculation she'd seen in Amanda. This family ate people like Sarah for breakfast. They had money, power, connections, and absolutely no conscience about using any of it to get what they wanted. But Sarah also saw something else. Fear. They were afraid of her questions, afraid of what she might uncover, which meant there was more to uncover. Crystal clear, Mrs. Harrison, Sarah said. Then she turned to Amanda one last time. I hope that $500 million is worth it. I hope it buys you everything you ever wanted, because those 2 babies I'm carrying, they're going to spend their whole lives wondering why their birth mother didn't want them. And one day, they're going to find out it was because you valued money more than you valued them. I hope you can live with that. Sarah made it to the elevator before her legs gave out. She collapsed against the mirrored wall, watching 5 reflections of herself crying, all of them holding stomachs that carried babies she had just signed away. The twins were kicking hard, responding to her elevated heart rate, and she pressed both hands against her belly. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." Her phone rang. Jen Rodriguez. Sarah almost didn't answer, but Jen would just keep calling. "How did it go?" Jen's voice was bright with hope. "She's engaged to someone else. The dinner was her engagement party. She made me sign custody papers in front of 150 people." The silence on the other end lasted 3 seconds. Then Jen said one word. "Where?" "I'm leaving now. I just need to go home." "Don't go home alone. I'm coming over. Give me 20 minutes. Sarah hung up and pulled herself together enough to make it to the parking garage. The valet brought her Honda Civic, and she saw him smirk at another valet as she tipped him $5 instead of 20. Everything about her screamed poverty to these people. Everything about her had screamed poverty to Amanda. The drive to her apartment in Echo Park took 40 minutes in traffic. Sarah spent the entire time replaying every moment of her marriage, looking for the signs she had missed. Amanda's expensive taste that she'd explained as thrifting designer pieces, the mysterious phone calls she took in another room, the weekends she spent visiting artist collectives in places like Santa Barbara and San Diego, the way she'd refused to let Sarah meet any of her friends or family, claiming they'd disowned her. It had all been lies. 4 years of lies. Jen was waiting outside Sarah's building when she pulled up, holding 2 pints of ice cream and a bottle of sparkling water. She took one look at Sarah's face and pulled her into a hug that lasted until both of them were crying. "Tell me everything," Jen said once they were inside the apartment. Sarah told her. Every word, every moment, every horrifying revelation. Jen listened without interrupting, her face growing darker with each sentence. $500 million, Jen said when Sarah finished, and she needed to be married for 4 years to get it. That's why the timeline was so specific. "I was an investment," Sarah said, "a 4-year investment that paid out $500 million. No, you were a victim of fraud. Sarah, this is prosecutable. Marriage fraud, obtaining property under false pretenses. With what evidence? I signed the papers. I took the money. $50,000 will hit my account in 2 days, and that's my signature on documents saying I did it willingly." Jen stood up, pacing. There has to be something, some way to fight this. Sarah's phone buzzed, an email from her law firm. The subject line made her blood run cold. "Conflict of interest. Immediate response required." She opened it with shaking hands. "Dear Ms. Mitchell, it has come to our attention that your former spouse, Amanda Wilson, is engaged to Marcus Chen, principal defendant in Chen Technologies versus Morrison Innovations, a case in which you have played a significant role. Please report to HR immediately upon your return from leave to discuss this conflict of interest." "They know," Sarah whispered. "It's been 3 hours, and they already know." Jen looked at the email. Someone told them. Someone from that party. "Amanda's mother," Sarah said, certainty washing over her. "Catherine Harrison. She said she'd make sure I never worked as an attorney in this state again. This is how she starts. Call them. Explain the situation. You're separated from Amanda. You had no idea about the engagement until tonight." Sarah called her supervisor, Daniel Martinez, even though it was past 9 p.m. He answered on the first ring. "Sarah, I was hoping you'd call." "Daniel, I can explain." "I'm sure you can, but it doesn't matter. The firm's ethics board met an hour ago. You're being placed on indefinite, unpaid leave, pending an investigation into whether you compromised the Chen Technologies case." "I didn't know about Marcus Chen until tonight." "Amanda and I have been separated for 6 months. I haven't had any contact with her. According to several sources, you attended an engagement party for Amanda and Marcus Chen this evening. That's contact, Sarah. I was ambushed. I thought I was meeting Amanda for a private dinner to discuss our children. Instead, I walked into an engagement party." Daniel sighed. "Look, I believe you. But the Chen family's lawyers have already sent a letter demanding your removal from the case and threatening a mistrial based on the conflict. The firm can't afford to fight this. I'm sorry. So I'm fired." You're on unpaid leave. There's a difference. Is there? Daniel, I'm 7 months pregnant with twins. I have no savings. I need my job. I know, and I'll do what I can. But Sarah, you need to understand how this looks. Your ex-wife is marrying our biggest defendant, and you attended their engagement party. People are going to assume the worst. Sarah ended the call and looked at Jen. I'm done. One conversation with Catherine Harrison, and I'm done. Then we fight back, Jen said. I'm a forensic accountant. Let me look into the Harrison family finances. If Amanda needed to be married for 4 years to access her trust, there might be other requirements, other vulnerabilities. With what resources? I can't pay you. You're my best friend. You don't need to pay me. Jen pulled out her laptop. Give me everything you know about the Harrison family. Names, businesses, any detail Amanda ever mentioned. They worked until 2 a.m, building a profile of the Harrison family empire. Robert Harrison, age 68, founder of Harrison Properties. Catherine Harrison, age 64, daughter of California's former governor. Amanda Victoria Harrison, only child, age 29. Only child, Jen said slowly. That's interesting. Why? Because usually these old money families have multiple heirs. Dividing assets among several children is standard estate planning. But if Amanda's the only one, that means everything goes to her, which means the family has enormous incentive to make sure she meets the trust requirements. Sarah's phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. This is Richard Klein, Mrs. Harrison Chen's attorney. The $50,000 has been transferred to your account. Please confirm receipt. Sarah checked her banking app. $50,000 sat in her checking account, more money than she'd ever had at one time. Blood money, 30 pieces of silver for betraying her own children. Don't touch it, Jen said. Once you spend it, they'll argue you accepted the terms. I already signed the papers, under duress, at a party, while 7 months pregnant. Any decent lawyer could argue those signatures were coerced. Any decent lawyer I can't afford, Sarah pointed out. The next morning, Sarah woke up to find her apartment building manager knocking on her door. Tom Reeves was a decent guy who'd always been understanding when her rent was late, but the expression on his face told Sarah this wasn't a friendly visit. Sarah, I need to talk to you about your lease. Is this about the rent? Because I can pay for next month now. I just received... It's not about the rent. The building's been sold. New ownership took over this morning. They're exercising the clause in your lease that allows termination with 30 days' notice for substantial renovation. Sarah's stomach dropped. What renovation? Tom, this building is fine. That's what I said. But the new owners are Harrison Properties, and they're insisting. I'm sorry, Sarah. You have 30 days to vacate. Harrison Properties, Sarah repeated. Amanda's family owns this building? They own it as of 8 o'clock this morning. The sale went through faster than anything I've ever seen. It's like they had it planned. Because they did, Sarah realized. Catherine Harrison had promised to destroy her, and she was being methodical about it. Job gone, home gone. What was next? The answer came 2 hours later when Sarah tried to access her bank account to transfer the $50,000 to a savings account Jen had helped her open. The screen showed an error message. She called the bank. Ms. Mitchell, your account has been frozen pending resolution of a legal matter. What legal matter? This is my money. According to the documentation filed this morning, Mrs. Amanda Harrison Chen has claimed that funds in your account rightfully belong to her as part of marital property division. The court has issued a temporary freeze until the matter can be adjudicated. She just paid me that money yesterday. How can she claim it's marital property? I'm sorry, Ms. Mitchell, but I can't discuss the legal specifics. You'll need to speak with your attorney. Sarah hung up and called Jen, who was already at her office running searches on the Harrison family. They froze my account, Sarah said. The $50,000 Amanda just paid me, she's now claiming belongs to her. That's insane. She can't pay you money and then take it back. Her lawyers are arguing it was marital property. Jen, I have $800 in cash. That's it. That's all I have access to until this is resolved. How long will that take? The bank said it could be weeks, maybe months. Jen swore. Sarah, listen to me. I found something. Amanda isn't the only person she's done this to. Sarah felt her heart stop. What? 6 years ago, a woman named Catherine Brennan filed a lawsuit against Amanda Harrison in New York. The case was settled out of court and sealed, but I found references to it in property records. Catherine Brennan transferred ownership of a Brooklyn brownstone worth $1.2 million to Amanda as part of a divorce settlement. Amanda was married before? Not just married. She used the exact same playbook. Met Catherine at an art gallery, presented herself as a struggling artist, got married, stayed married for exactly 4 years, then divorced right before her 24th birthday. Catherine tried to fight it, but she had no resources and no proof of fraud. She ended up losing everything. Sarah felt sick. She's done this twice. I'm the second victim. At least the second that I can find. There might be others. We need to talk to Catherine Brennan. I'm already looking for her. Sarah, there's something else. The Harrison Family Trust isn't just about being married. According to the documents I found, heirs have to demonstrate commitment to family values and child rearing to access the full inheritance. That's why Amanda pushed so hard for the twins. She needed to be pregnant or have children. Exactly. And the trust distributions happen on the heir's 30th birthday, which for Amanda is 2 weeks from tomorrow, Sarah finished. Everything has to be perfect by then. Married to Marcus, full custody of the twins, no loose ends. Her phone rang, a Los Angeles number she didn't recognize. Sarah almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Ms. Mitchell, this is Patricia Wong from Wong & Associates. I specialize in high-conflict custody cases. I've been following your situation, and I'd like to offer my services. How did you get my number? A mutual acquaintance thought you could use help. Ms. Mitchell, I've gone up against the Harrison family before. I know how they operate, and I think I can help you. Sarah looked at Jen, who was shaking her head frantically and mouthing, "Trap." What are your fees? Sarah asked carefully. For a case like this, I'd normally charge a $50,000 retainer, but I'm willing to work with you on payment arrangements given your circumstances. $50,000. Exactly the amount currently frozen in Sarah's account. I need to think about it, Sarah said. Of course, but Ms. Mitchell, time is critical. Mrs. Harrison Chen is filing for emergency custody this week. Without representation, you'll lose those babies the moment they're born. Sarah ended the call and looked at Jen. She knew exactly how much money is in my frozen account. Because Amanda told her, Jen said. Sarah, this is the next step. They give you a lawyer who's actually working for them. She gets access to your legal strategy, feeds everything back to Amanda, and when the custody hearing happens, they're 3 steps ahead of you. So what do? I need a lawyer. Not that lawyer. Over the next week, Sarah called 17 family law attorneys in Los Angeles. The first 12 said they had conflicts of interest. The next 5 quoted retainer fees between $75,000 and $200,000. One attorney was honest enough to tell her the truth. Miss Mitchell, the Harrison family has connections to every major firm in this city. I'm not saying you can't find representation, but anyone willing to take your case is going to be either desperate or incompetent. I'm sorry. Sarah was sitting in Jen's office when the next blow fell. An email from Amanda's attorneys containing a petition for emergency custody filed with Los Angeles Superior Court. The document was 47 pages long and devastating in its thoroughness. It painted a picture of Sarah as mentally unstable, financially irresponsible, and emotionally volatile. It cited her emergency room visit on Christmas night as evidence of poor judgment. It included statements from Daniel's firm describing her erratic behavior around the Chen Technologies case. It mentioned her father's Parkinson's disease and suggested she was too overwhelmed caring for him to handle newborn twins. They're using Dad against me, Sarah whispered. They're saying I can't take care of my own children because I take care of my father. It's character assassination, Jen said, reading over her shoulder. But Sarah, look at this signature page. Sarah looked. The petition was signed by Patricia Wong of Wong & Associates. The lawyer who called me offering to help is the one filing against me. She was fishing for information, seeing if you'd take the bait. When you didn't, she filed this instead. Sarah's phone rang. Her father, David Mitchell. Sarah, honey, there are people at my house. They say they're from Adult Protective Services. They're asking questions about my care. Did you call them? No, Dad. I didn't call anyone. Don't let them in without me there. I'm coming right now. Sarah drove to her father's house in Pasadena, violating her doctor's orders to avoid stress. When she arrived, 2 social workers were on the front porch with her father, who looked confused and frightened. Ms. Mitchell? I'm Gloria Chen from LA County Adult Protective Services. We received a report that your father is being neglected. From who? The report was anonymous, but it expressed concerns about Mr. Mitchell's safety. We're required to investigate all reports. Sarah wanted to scream that this was harassment, that the Harrison family was behind this, that they were using her sick father as a weapon. But she knew that would only make her look unstable. My father has early-stage Parkinson's. He has a care plan supervised by his neurologist. He's not being neglected. We'll need to verify that. May we come inside? For the next hour, Sarah watched 2 social workers examine her father's home, ask him questions he struggled to answer because of his condition, and take notes on everything from the expired milk in his refrigerator to the medical bills stacked on his kitchen counter. Mr. Mitchell, do you feel safe in this home? Gloria asked. David looked at Sarah, then back at Gloria. My daughter takes good care of me. She's a good girl. But she's about to have twins, correct? Will she still be able to care for you? I'll figure it out, Sarah interjected. Families figure things out. Gloria closed her notebook. Ms. Mitchell, we're not finding evidence of active neglect at this time. However, we will be following up after your children are born to ensure your father's care doesn't suffer. I'm required to file a report, and it will become part of any family court proceedings involving you. After they left, David took Sarah's hand. What's happening, honey? Why are these people after us? It's Amanda, Dad. She's trying to take everything. Then we fight back. David's voice was firm despite the tremor in his hands. Your mother would never forgive me if I let some rich family destroy her daughter. That night, Sarah lay in bed feeling the twins kick and thought about everything she'd lost in 1 week. Her job, her home, her money, her father's peace. And still Amanda wasn't done. The next morning, Sarah woke up to someone pounding on her apartment door. She opened it to find a process server with another stack of legal documents. Sarah Mitchell, you've been served. The new petition was a psychological evaluation order. Amanda's lawyers were demanding that Sarah submit to a full psychiatric assessment before the custody hearing, arguing that her delusional accusations about Amanda's identity and the Harrison family's wealth suggested she was suffering from a break with reality. They're calling me crazy, Sarah said to Jen on the phone. They're literally arguing that figuring out the truth makes me mentally ill. Because it's their last card. If they can get a psychologist to say you're unstable, they win everything. What if I am unstable? Jen, I'm having panic attacks. I can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see Amanda's face when she called our children her mess to clean up. That's trauma, not mental illness. Sarah, you need to fight this evaluation. I can't afford to fight anything. The twins kicked hard, and Sarah gasped. One of them was pressing against her ribs. Doctor, Maya Patel had warned her at her last appointment that stress could trigger early labor. Sarah was 31 weeks now. The twins needed at least 4 more weeks to be safe. Her phone buzzed with an email. The subject line made her hands shake. Chen Technologies settlement offer. She opened it. Daniel Martinez had sent her a confidential message. Sarah, the Chen family just offered to settle the patent case for $150 million on the condition that the firm agree you compromised their defense. They want you disbarred. The partners are voting tonight. I'm so sorry. Sarah called Daniel immediately. They can't do this. I didn't compromise anything. I know. But Sarah, it's $150 million. The firm can't turn that down. Some of the partners are already calling for your immediate termination. So I'm not just losing my job, I'm losing my law license. Fight it. File a grievance with the Bar Association. But Sarah, you need to prepare for the worst." She hung up and stared at her phone. In 9 days, she had lost her marriage, her children, her job, her home, her money, and now her career. The Harrison family was erasing her existence piece by piece. That's when her laptop pinged with a new email. The sender was k.brennan47@gmail.com. The subject line said only, "I know what she did to you." Sarah opened it with trembling hands. "Ms. Mitchell, my name is Catherine Brennan. 6 years ago, Amanda Harrison destroyed my life the same way she's destroying yours. I lost my home, my business, and my reputation. But I never stopped investigating her. I have evidence that could change everything. But I need to know if you're willing to fight, because if we do this, the Harrison family will come after both of us with everything they have. If you want to talk, meet me tomorrow at 2 p.m. at the Coffee Bean on Sunset. I'll be wearing a red scarf. Come alone." Sarah stared at the email for a full minute. Then she forwarded it to Jen with one word: "Trap?" Jen's response came immediately. "Definitely maybe, but also maybe our only shot." Sarah spent the entire next day debating whether to go. Catherine Brennan could be real. She could be another victim of Amanda's pattern of fraud and manipulation. Or she could be another plant, another Patricia Wong pretending to offer help while actually gathering information for the Harrison legal team. At 1:45 p.m., Sarah got in her car and drove to Sunset Boulevard. Her doctor would kill her if she knew Sarah was driving across the city at 31 weeks pregnant with twins. But Sarah was past caring about doctor's orders. She parked 2 blocks away and walked slowly to the Coffee Bean, her hand on her belly as the twins shifted and kicked. A woman sat at an outdoor table wearing a red scarf, looking at her phone. She was in her late 30s, professionally dressed, with the kind of wary expression that came from surviving something terrible. Their eyes met. Catherine Brennan stood up. "Sarah?" "Catherine." They sat down across from each other, 2 women connected by the same beautiful monster. "Before we talk," Catherine said quietly, "I need you to know something. Everything I'm about to tell you, I can prove. I've spent 6 years building a case, but I couldn't do anything with it alone because Amanda's family buried me. No lawyer would touch it. No journalist would report it. I was just a jilted ex-wife with an axe to grind. But you're different." "How am I different? I have even less than you did." Catherine smiled grimly. "Because you're victim number 2. And when there are 2 victims with the same story, it stops being he said, she said. It becomes a pattern. And patterns are prosecutable." She pulled a flash drive from her purse and slid it across the table. "Everything's on here. Financial records proving Amanda's real identity. Recordings of conversations where she admitted the marriage was fraud. Documentation of the trust requirements. Evidence of payoffs to judges and lawyers. And most importantly, proof that Robert Harrison has done this before with other family members. Amanda isn't the only Harrison child who's committed marriage fraud to access trust funds. It's a family tradition." Sarah picked up the flash drive with shaking hands. "Why now? Why didn't you use this 6 years ago?" "Because 6 years ago, I was alone and terrified, and they convinced me I'd go to prison if I fought back. But I've been watching Amanda, waiting for her to do it again. When I saw the engagement announcement to Marcus Chen, I knew she'd found her next victim. I've been tracking you ever since, Sarah, waiting to see if you'd fight or fold. I signed the custody papers. Under duress. That won't hold up if we can prove the entire marriage was fraud from day one." Catherine leaned forward. "I have a lawyer. Her name is Rebecca Santos. She takes cases everyone else refuses. Civil rights violations, judicial corruption, systemic abuse. She's been wanting to go after the Harrison family for years, but she needed a victim willing to fight. Are you willing?" Sarah thought about her twins, about the life Amanda planned for them in boarding schools, being raised by nannies while their mother pretended they existed for trust compliance purposes. She thought about Catherine, who'd spent 6 years preparing for this moment. She thought about all the other women Amanda might destroy if someone didn't stop her. "I'm willing," Sarah said. "What do we do first?" Catherine's smile was fierce. We burned their empire to the ground. Rebecca Santos worked out of a converted warehouse in Boyle Heights that smelled like coffee and righteous anger. She was 42, had survived 3 death threats from corrupt corporations, and looked like she could chew through steel if the situation required it. When Catherine introduced Sarah, Rebecca's handshake was firm enough to leave bruises. "I've been wanting to destroy the Harrison family for 8 years, Rebecca said without preamble. They bribed a judge in a housing discrimination case I was working. Cost my clients everything. So, yes, I'll take your case. And no, I don't care that they have unlimited money. Money doesn't win trials. Evidence does." Catherine inserted the flash drive into Rebecca's laptop. "Show her the recordings first." The first recording was dated 4 years and 2 months ago. Amanda's voice came through clearly. Catherine was perfect, believed every word. I actually felt bad for about 5 minutes when she cried during the wedding vows. But then I remembered what Dad said about sentiment being expensive, and I got over it. A male voice responded. "And the new one, Sarah? Even easier. She's a lawyer, so she thinks she's smart. But she's poor, which makes her desperate. Desperate people don't ask questions. They just feel grateful someone like me chose them." Sarah felt like she'd been punched. Hearing Amanda's voice, hearing the calculation behind every lie, made it real in a way the engagement party hadn't. "There are 47 recordings," Catherine said quietly. Amanda liked to brag about her conquests to her father and his business partners. She never knew I had access to her phone through a shared cloud account. Rebecca was already taking notes. "This is good. This is very good. Sarah, I need you to tell me everything about your marriage. Every detail, every date, every financial transaction." Catherine's evidence proves a pattern, but your testimony proves it's ongoing. For the next 6 hours, Sarah talked. Rebecca recorded everything, cross-referencing dates with Catherine's documentation. Jen arrived around hour 3 with her forensic accounting files, adding another layer of financial proof. "The trust distribution is in 12 days, Jen said, spreading printouts across Rebecca's desk. "Amanda needs to be legally married to Marcus, have custody of the twins, and present a unified family image to the trust administrators by her 30th birthday. If any of those elements fail, she forfeits the $500 million. "So we have 12 days to break at least one element," Rebecca said. "The custody hearing is in 8 days. That's our battlefield." Sarah's phone rang. Dr. Maya Patel. "Sarah, you missed your appointment this afternoon. Is everything all right?" Sarah had completely forgotten. "I'm sorry, Dr. Patel, I got caught up with legal issues." "Sarah, at 31 weeks with twins, you can't afford to miss appointments. Your blood pressure was elevated last week. I need to see you tomorrow morning without fail." After Sarah hung up, Rebecca looked at her with concern. "How are you feeling physically?" "Like I'm carrying 2 bowling balls and haven't slept in a week." "You need to take care of yourself. If you go into early labor, Amanda's lawyers will use it as evidence you're too unstable to parent." "Everything I do, they'll use against me," Sarah said. "That's the point." Catherine touched her hand. "I know, but we're going to stop them this time." That night, Sarah went home to find an eviction notice taped to her door. Harrison Properties was accelerating the timeline. She had 15 days now, not 30. The notice cited urgent renovation requirements that couldn't be delayed. Sarah called Rebecca, who swore colorfully. "They're trying to make you homeless right before the custody hearing. Judge sees a pregnant woman with no permanent address. It looks bad. Do you have somewhere to stay?" "My father's house, but that's in Pasadena, and Adult Protective Services is watching him." "Stay with me," Catherine said when Sarah called her in desperation. "I have a guest room. It's not much, but it's yours for as long as you need it." "Why are you doing this? You don't even know me." Catherine's laugh was bitter. "Because 6 years ago, I needed someone to believe me, and no one did. I'm not letting that happen to you." The next morning, Sarah moved into Catherine's apartment in Silver Lake with 2 suitcases and a growing sense that the walls were closing in. Dr. Patel's appointment confirmed her worst fears. "Your blood pressure is 140/95, Dr. Patel said, her face serious. "That's preeclampsia territory. Sarah, if this gets any higher, I'm putting you on bed rest. I can't be on bed rest. I have a custody hearing in 7 days. You won't make it to the custody hearing if you stroke out. What's causing this stress? Sarah told her everything. The engagement party, the custody battle, the systematic destruction of her life. Dr. Patel listened with growing horror. I treated Amanda too, Dr. Patel said slowly, during your IVF cycle. She told me she had endometriosis and couldn't carry. But Sarah, I saw her medical records. There was nothing wrong with her reproductive system. She lied to me, too. Sarah sat up so fast she got dizzy. You have documentation of that? I have her medical files. And if she lied about a medical condition to manipulate you into carrying her children, that's fraud. That's something I can testify to. Would you? In court? Dr. Patel nodded slowly. I took an oath to do no harm. What Amanda did to you is harm. Yes, I'll testify. Rebecca nearly kissed Dr. Patel when Sarah told her. Medical fraud, that's beautiful. That's a completely separate angle they won't be expecting. Sarah, we might actually have a shot at this. But that afternoon, Sarah's hopes started crumbling. She received an email from her law firm's HR department. Dear Ms. Mitchell, following the Ethics Board investigation and consideration of settlement terms in the Chen Technologies case, your employment has been terminated effective immediately. Please return all firm property and materials within 48 hours. Jen called her 60 seconds later. Sarah, don't panic, but the Bar Association just received a formal complaint against you. Someone's alleging you committed professional misconduct in the Chen case. From who? The complaint is anonymous, but we both know who filed it. Sarah was now unemployed and facing potential disbarment. Any custody evaluator would see a woman whose life was in freefall. That evening, Catherine ordered pizza, and the three of them worked in her living room building the case file. Rebecca had subpoenaed Amanda's financial records, requested the original trust documents, and filed a motion to unseal Catherine's previous case in New York. The Harrison lawyers are going to fight every one of these, Rebecca warned. They'll bury us in motions and delays and try to run out the clock until after Amanda's birthday. Can they do that? Sarah asked. They can try, but I've been doing this for 20 years, and I know every trick in their playbook. We just need to stay 3 steps ahead. Sarah's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. She opened it and immediately wished she hadn't. It was a photo of her father, taken through his living room window. The text below said simply, "Drop the case or we visit him next." Sarah showed it to Rebecca and Catherine. Rebecca's face went hard. That's witness intimidation. That's a felony. Save this. They're threatening my father. They're threatening all of us. That's how you know we're getting close to something they don't want exposed. Catherine's face had gone pale. Sarah, you need to understand what you're up against. When I tried to fight back, they didn't just destroy my finances. They destroyed everything. I lost my business. My friends stopped talking to me because the Harrisons spread rumors I was unstable. I couldn't get a job for 2 years because they blacklisted me. Are you prepared for that? Sarah looked at the photo of her father, then at her swollen belly where her daughters were sleeping. I don't have a choice. If I back down, Amanda takes my children and raises them to be like her. I can't let that happen. The next 3 days passed in a blur of preparation. Rebecca drilled Sarah on testimony. Jen created financial exhibits showing the pattern of fraud. Catherine provided context about Amanda's methods. Dr. Patel prepared her medical testimony. Then, on day 4, everything went wrong. Sarah returned to Catherine's apartment after a meeting with Rebecca to find the front door ajar. Catherine was standing in the middle of her living room, face white with shock. They were here, Catherine said. Someone broke in. The apartment had been ransacked, every drawer emptied, every cabinet searched, every file disturbed. Catherine ran to her bedroom and came back holding an empty safe. The backup drives, she whispered. All my evidence. 6 years of documentation. They took everything. Sarah felt her heart stop. The flash drive you gave Rebecca, that was the only copy? No, I had backups, 3 of them, in that safe. All of them are gone. Rebecca arrived 20 minutes later, face grim. My office was hit too. They didn't take anything, but my computer was accessed. All the files we've been building, they're corrupted. Every single document is unreadable. How is that possible? Jen demanded. You have security. Professional hackers, probably, the kind of resources the Harrison family can afford. Sarah sat down heavily, feeling the twins kick in protest. 6 years of Catherine's work, gone. 4 days of their own preparation, destroyed. And the custody hearing was in 3 days. We still have Dr. Patel's testimony, Sarah said desperately, and the recordings Catherine played for us. You heard them, Rebecca. You can testify to what was on them. Hearsay, Rebecca said quietly. I can testify that I heard recordings, but without the actual files, a judge won't admit my testimony as evidence. We need the originals. Catherine was crying now. 6 years of hope collapsing. They always win. They always find a way to win. Sarah's phone rang. Amanda. She answered without thinking. Sarah, sweetie, I heard about the break-ins. How terrible. I hope no one was hurt. You did this. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I do want to offer you one last chance to be reasonable. Drop whatever ridiculous case you're trying to build, accept the custody arrangement we agreed to, and I'll make sure the $50,000 gets unfrozen. You can start over somewhere quiet, somewhere far from Los Angeles. I'm not dropping anything, Amanda's voice went cold. Then you'll lose everything. Not just the twins, Sarah. Everything. Your father's house is mortgaged, did you know that? And the bank holding that mortgage is owned by a Harrison subsidiary. I wonder what would happen if they decided to foreclose. You can't do that. That's his home. I can do anything I want. That's what you don't understand. You're fighting with a water pistol against a nuclear bomb. You can't win. You could never win. Sarah hung up and immediately called her father. Dad, is your house mortgaged? I took out a reverse mortgage 5 years ago to pay for your mother's cancer treatment. Why? Sarah closed her eyes. Another weapon in Amanda's arsenal. Another way to destroy everything Sarah loved. Rebecca was already on her phone calling someone. When she hung up, her expression was troubled. I know a judge who owes me a favor. I can get us an emergency hearing tomorrow to review the custody arrangement. But Sarah, without evidence, we're going in empty-handed. It's going to come down to your word against Amanda's. And Amanda has money, stability, and a fiancé. What do you have? The truth. The truth doesn't always win. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. The twins were restless, kicking and turning, responding to her stress hormones. At 2 a.m, she got up and checked her email. There was a message from an address she didn't recognize. Patricia Wong, 47, at protonmail.com. The subject line said, I'm sorry. Sarah opened it with shaking hands. Ms. Mitchell, you don't know me, but I'm the attorney who filed the custody petition against you. I was hired by the Harrison family to destroy your case, and I've done exactly that. But I can't sleep anymore. What they're doing to you is wrong. I'm attaching files I secretly copied before the hack. It's not everything, but it might be enough. I'm leaving the country tomorrow. By the time you read this, I'll be somewhere the Harrisons can't reach me. Good luck. You're going to need it. Patricia Wong. The attachment was a compressed folder with 43 files. Sarah downloaded it with trembling hands and woke up Catherine and Jen. They spent the next 3 hours going through everything. Patricia Wong had copied portions of Catherine's evidence before it was destroyed. Financial records, trust documents, and something new, internal Harrison Properties emails discussing the Amanda problem and how to neutralize the Mitchell woman. This is conspiracy, Jen said, reading through the emails. They're explicitly planning to destroy you. Robert Harrison himself authorized payment to hackers to access Rebecca's files. Will it hold up in court, Sarah asked. Rebecca was reading the trust documents with growing excitement. These trust terms, they're even more restrictive than we thought. Amanda doesn't just need to be married and have custody. She needs to maintain that status for 12 months after her 30th birthday. If anything changes during that year, the money goes to charity. So even if she gets the twins, she has to keep up the act for a whole year? Exactly. Which means if we can prove fraud before then, she loses everything anyway. Sarah felt hope stirring for the first time in days. So we don't have to win the custody case. We just have to delay it past her birthday. Or prove that her marriage to Marcus is fraudulent, Catherine added. If she's not in a legitimate marriage, she doesn't meet the trust requirements. How do we prove that? Sarah asked. Jen pulled up another document from Patricia Wong's files. This is a prenuptial agreement between Amanda and Marcus, signed 3 months ago. Want to guess what it says? She read aloud. Party A, Amanda Harrison, and Party B, Marcus Chen, acknowledge this marriage is a contractual arrangement designed to satisfy trust requirements for Party A and provide corporate merger benefits for Party B's family business. No cohabitation is required. Divorce to be initiated no later than 18 months post-marriage. Assets to be divided according to Schedule A. It's a business contract, Rebecca said slowly, not a marriage. This is fraud on the trust itself. Sarah's phone rang. It was 4 a.m. Dr. Patel. Sarah, I need you to come to the hospital right now. Don't argue, just come. What's wrong? Your medical records were just accessed by someone claiming to be your new OBGYN. I got an alert from the system. Sarah, I think someone's trying to alter your files. Sarah, Catherine, and Jen arrived at Cedars-Sinai 20 minutes later. Dr. Patel met them in her office looking shaken. Someone tried to add notes to your chart about psychiatric instability and non-compliance with medical advice. I caught it because they didn't know the system flags all changes. But Sarah, if I hadn't been monitoring your file specifically, this would have gone through. And any custody evaluator who saw it would think you were mentally unfit. Can you prove someone else did it? Rebecca asked, appearing from wherever lawyers appeared from at 4 a.m. The access logs show an IP address from a computer at Harrison Properties headquarters. They were sloppy or arrogant, probably both. Rebecca smiled for the first time in days. Medical record tampering. That's a federal crime. Sarah, we just got our smoking gun. The emergency custody hearing was scheduled for 9 that morning. Sarah had 6 hours to prepare for the fight of her life. At 8:30, as they were gathering their materials to head to court, Sarah felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. She gasped and grabbed the table. Sarah? Catherine's voice was sharp with concern. Another pain, worse this time. Sarah felt wetness between her legs and looked down to see blood. Hospital, she managed to say before her vision started to gray out. Something's wrong with the babies. Dr. Patel met them in the emergency room, her face grave after a quick ultrasound. You're in early labor, 32 weeks. The twins need at least 2 more weeks for their lungs to develop fully. We need to stop this now. The hearing, Sarah whispered. It's in 30 minutes. Sarah, if we don't stop this labor, you could lose both babies. The hearing doesn't matter if your children don't survive. Rebecca was already on her phone requesting an emergency continuance. She hung up and shook her head. The judge denied it. Amanda's lawyers argued that Sarah is using a medical emergency to delay proceedings. The hearing goes forward, with or without you. Sarah looked at Dr. Patel. How long can you safely delay? Delay what? The labor. How long before it becomes dangerous for the babies? Sarah, it's already dangerous. Every minute we wait increases the risk. But if we stop it now, if you give me the medications, how long before I can safely leave the hospital? Doctor. Patel understood what Sarah was asking. I can give you drugs to stop the contractions, but you'd be on strict bed rest. Any movement could restart the labor. Sarah, you can't go to that hearing. If I don't go, I lose my children anyway. They'll be born in 2 weeks, and Amanda will take them the moment they're viable. At least if I go now, I have a chance to fight. Catherine grabbed her hand. Sarah, you could die. The babies could die. Or we could all survive, and my daughters grow up knowing their mother fought for them instead of giving up. Sarah looked at Dr. Patel. Give me the medication. Get me stable enough to walk. I have a hearing to get to. Dr. Patel administered the medication with visible reluctance, and Sarah felt the contractions ease slightly. The babies were still in distress, their heart rates elevated on the monitor, but they were alive. Sarah was alive. That had to be enough. At 10:15, Sarah walked into Department 47 of the Los Angeles Superior Court. 32 weeks pregnant with twins who were trying to be born too soon, to face the woman who had destroyed her life. Judge Marion Foster looked up from the bench as Sarah entered, taking in her hospital bracelet and the wheelchair Catherine was pushing her in. Ms. Mitchell, I understand you're experiencing a medical emergency. Are you certain you wish to proceed? Amanda was sitting at the plaintiff's table with 3 attorneys in suits that cost more than Sarah's car. She looked perfect, composed, every inch the stable parent. When she saw Sarah in the wheelchair, something flickered across her face. Not concern, calculation. Sarah met her eyes and felt something cold and hard settle in her chest. Yes, Your Honor, Sarah said. I'm certain. I have evidence to present that this court needs to see before making any custody determination. Rebecca stepped forward with the files Patricia Wong had sent. Your Honor, we have documentation of systematic fraud, medical record tampering, witness intimidation, and conspiracy to deprive Ms. Mitchell of her parental rights. We request the court review these materials before proceeding. Amanda's lead attorney, a man named Harrison Blackwell, who probably thought the name coincidence was hilarious, stood up. Your Honor, this is a desperate attempt by Ms. Mitchell to delay proceedings. These so-called documents are likely fabricated, just as her previous accusations have been proven false. Proven false how? Rebecca demanded. By destroying the evidence before it could be examined? Judge Foster held up a hand. I'll review the materials. This hearing is in recess for 2 hours while I examine the evidence presented by both parties. Sarah was wheeled back to a private room where Dr. Patel was waiting with a portable monitor. The twins' heart rates were still elevated but stable. Sarah lay back and closed her eyes, feeling the medication working to keep the contractions at bay. 2 hours, Catherine said. In 2 hours, we find out if any of this was enough. Sarah put her hand on her belly, feeling her daughters moving inside her. It has to be enough. It has to be. Those 2 hours felt like 2 years. Sarah lay in the private room with monitors beeping softly, tracking her daughter's heartbeats, while Catherine paced and Jen refreshed her email every 30 seconds. Rebecca had gone back into the courtroom to wait for Judge Foster's decision. At exactly 12:15, a bailiff appeared at the door. Judge Foster is ready. She wants all parties back in the courtroom. Dr. Patel checked Sarah's vitals one more time. Your blood pressure is still too high. If this gets worse, I'm overruling everyone and putting you in the ICU. Noted, Sarah said, letting Catherine help her back into the wheelchair. Judge Foster was already on the bench when they entered. Her expression was unreadable. Amanda sat at her table looking confident, almost bored. Harrison Blackwell whispered something to her that made her smile. I've reviewed all submitted materials, Judge Foster began, and I have some questions. Mr. Blackwell, your client presented herself to Miss Mitchell as Amanda Wilson throughout their marriage. Is that correct? Blackwell stood smoothly. My client used a professional name for her art business. Many people do. It's not illegal. She also claimed to be disowned by her family for her sexuality. Yet I have financial records here showing regular deposits from Harrison Properties into accounts she controlled during the entire marriage. That's not disowned, Mr. Blackwell. That's funded. Blackwell's smile tightened. My client's financial arrangements with her family are private matters, not relevant to this custody dispute. They're relevant when they demonstrate a pattern of deception. Ms. Santos, your evidence suggests Mrs. Harrison Chen married Ms. Mitchell solely to satisfy trust requirements. Do you have proof of intent? Rebecca stood. Yes, Your Honor. We have a prenuptial agreement between Mrs. Harrison Chen and Mr. Chen explicitly stating their marriage is a contractual arrangement, not a legitimate union. We also have medical records proving Mrs. Harrison Chen lied about her inability to carry children, manipulating Ms. Mitchell into assuming the physical burden and risks of pregnancy. Amanda's face went pale. She leaned over to whisper urgently to Blackwell, who looked like he'd swallowed glass. Your Honor, Blackwell said, I'd like to request a brief recess to consult with my client. Request denied. Mrs. Harrison Chen, please stand. Amanda stood slowly. For the first time since Sarah had known her, Amanda looked genuinely frightened. Did you marry Marcus Chen for love? Judge Foster asked directly. Your Honor, my client doesn't have to answer, Blackwell began. Yes, she does. This is a custody hearing, and I'm trying to determine if she's a fit parent. Someone who enters fraudulent marriages doesn't strike me as someone who values family bonds. So I'll ask again. Mrs. Harrison Chen, did you marry Marcus Chen because you love him? Amanda lifted her chin. I married him because we're compatible. Our families have business interests that align. Love is for people who can't afford better options. The courtroom went dead silent. Even Blackwell looked horrified. And your marriage to Sarah Mitchell? Judge Foster pressed. What was that for? That was necessary at the time. Necessary for accessing your trust fund? Amanda said nothing, but her silence was answer enough. Judge Foster looked down at the documents in front of her for a long moment. Here's my preliminary ruling. This custody matter is continued for 6 months, during which time an independent investigation will be conducted into the allegations of fraud. Ms. Mitchell retains full custody of the minor children when born. Mrs. Harrison Chen will have supervised visitation rights pending the investigation's outcome. Amanda's composure shattered. You can't do that. Those children are mine. According to these medical records, you have no biological relationship to them. Ms. Mitchell is the birth mother. You may have legal claims, but those claims are now under investigation for fraud. My birthday is in 8 days. I need those children. The words hung in the air like a confession. Judge Foster's expression hardened. Need them for what, Mrs. Harrison Chen? Your inheritance? This court's priority is the welfare of children, not your financial interests. My ruling stands. This hearing is adjourned. The gavel came down like a gunshot. Sarah felt something release in her chest that she hadn't even known was clenched. Catherine was crying. Jen was pulling up her phone to start documenting everything. And Amanda was standing frozen at her table, watching $500 million disappear. Then Amanda turned and looked directly at Sarah. The hatred in her eyes was so pure, it was almost physical. This isn't over, Amanda said quietly. You have no idea what my family is capable of. They were halfway out of the courthouse when Sarah's phone rang. Her father. Sarah, there are men at my house. They say they're from the bank. They're changing the locks. Dad, I'm coming right now. Don't let them touch anything. But when Sarah, Catherine, and Rebecca arrived at David Mitchell's house in Pasadena 40 minutes later, it was too late. The locks had been changed, and David was sitting on his front porch with a single suitcase, looking lost. A man in a suit was posting a foreclosure notice on the door. Mr. Mitchell defaulted on his reverse mortgage. The property now belongs to Heritage Financial Group. Heritage Financial is a Harrison subsidiary, Jen said, pulling up the information on her phone. They bought his mortgage 3 days ago and immediately accelerated foreclosure. Rebecca was already on her phone with someone. She hung up, looking grim. This is retaliation for the court ruling. They're hitting back where it hurts most. David looked at Sarah with confusion in his eyes. I don't understand, honey. I've never missed a payment. How can they take my house? Because they can, Sarah said, helping her father to his feet. Because they have money and we don't. Dad, you're coming to stay with Catherine and me. I can't impose. You're not imposing. You're family. That's what families do. That evening, Sarah, her father, Catherine, and Jen crowded into Catherine's 2-bedroom apartment, trying to process what had happened. They'd won the custody battle, temporarily, but the Harrisons were destroying everything else in response. Sarah's phone buzzed with an email. The Bar Association had scheduled her ethics hearing for the day after Amanda's 30th birthday. The timing was too perfect to be coincidental. Even if Sarah kept her children, she'd lose her law license. They're going to keep coming, Sarah said. Every time we win something, they'll take something else. My dad's house, my career. What's next? Catherine's job? Jen's business? Then we stop playing defense and go on offense, Rebecca said. We have proof of fraud. We have proof of conspiracy. It's time to take this to the FBI. The next morning, Rebecca, Sarah, and Catherine walked into the FBI's Los Angeles field office with a flash drive containing every piece of evidence they had. The agent who met with them was a woman named Victoria Chen, no relation to Marcus, who specialized in white-collar crime. Agent Chen listened to their story, reviewed their evidence, and made notes for 90 minutes. When they finished, she leaned back in her chair. This is good. This is actually very good. The Harrison family has been on our radar for years, but we've never had enough to build a case. What you're describing is RICO territory. Systematic fraud, witness intimidation, judicial corruption. If even half of this is provable, Robert Harrison is looking at serious prison time. How long would an investigation take, Rebecca asked. Months, maybe years. These cases are complex. We don't have years. We have 6 days until Amanda's birthday. If she doesn't get her inheritance, the trust money goes to charity, and she has no motive to keep coming after Sarah. But if there's any chance she can still access it, she won't stop. Agent Chen considered this. What if I told you we've had an informant inside Harrison Properties for the past 8 months? Someone who's been feeding us information but hasn't had anything concrete enough to act on. Your evidence might be exactly what we need to move forward. Sarah felt hope stirring again. Who's the informant? I can't tell you that, but I can tell you they've been documenting financial crimes, bribery, and other illegal activities. Combined with your evidence of the marriage fraud and custody manipulation, we might have enough for an indictment. In 6 days? In 6 days, I can have enough to freeze Harrison family assets pending investigation. That includes trust distributions. If Amanda's 30th birthday happens while her family is under federal investigation, the trust administrators won't authorize any payments. They'll wait to see how the criminal case shakes out. Rebecca smiled. And by the time the investigation concludes, assuming you find what we think you'll find, Amanda will be in prison and ineligible for the inheritance anyway. That's the idea. Sarah felt one of the twins kick hard, as if celebrating. What do you need from us? Everything you have, and patience. The wheels of justice turn slowly, Ms. Mitchell, but they do turn. That afternoon, Sarah had her 33-week appointment with Dr. Patel. The early labor had been stopped, but Sarah was now on modified bed rest, which meant the custody investigation would have to happen while she was largely confined to Catherine's apartment. The twins are doing well, considering the stress you're under, Dr. Patel said, studying the ultrasound. But Sarah, I need you to understand something. Your blood pressure is still dangerously high. If it doesn't come down in the next week, I'm inducing labor whether you're ready or not. These babies need to be born in a hospital where we can monitor them, not in an apartment while you're fighting legal battles. 1 more week, Sarah pleaded. Just give me 1 more week to see this through. Dr. Patel sighed. 1 week. Then we deliver these babies, and you focus on being a mother instead of a lawyer. When Sarah got back to the apartment, Catherine was waiting with an expression Sarah had learned to dread. We have a problem. A big one. Catherine held up her laptop, showing a news article. Harrison Properties just announced they're donating $500 million to various Los Angeles charities, effective immediately. Robert Harrison is quoted saying the donation is in honor of his daughter Amanda's upcoming 30th birthday and her commitment to family values. He's giving away the trust money? Sarah asked in confusion. No, Jen said, reading the article more carefully. He's creating the appearance of giving it away. But look at the charities. The Harrison Family Foundation, the Amanda V. Harrison Children's Fund, the Heritage Arts Initiative. Every single one of these is controlled by the Harrison family. He's not giving the money away. He's just moving it to different accounts they still control. Can he do that? Rebecca was already on the phone with Agent Chen. She hung up looking frustrated. The FBI can't touch charitable donations without proof they're fraudulent, and proving that takes time we don't have. If Robert Harrison successfully donates that $500 million before Amanda's birthday, she technically doesn't receive an inheritance, which means she's not violating trust terms. She's just the person who controls access to the charity funds. So she gets the money anyway, Sarah said flatly, just through a different mechanism. Unless we can prove the charities are fake before the donation is finalized. These transfers take time. Banking regulations, IRS approvals, verification processes. If we can demonstrate fraud in the next 4 days, the transfers get frozen and the money stays in the trust. Sarah felt the weight of impossibility settling over her again. How do we prove that in 4 days? Her phone rang. Unknown number. Sarah almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Ms. Mitchell, my name is Margaret Harrison. I'm Robert Harrison's sister. I believe you're being victimized by my family, and I'd like to help. Sarah put the phone on speaker so everyone could hear. Why would you help me? Because I've watched my brother destroy people for 40 years, and I'm tired of being complicit through my silence. Amanda isn't the first Harrison child to commit marriage fraud for trust money. My brother did the same thing when he was 30. He married a woman, used her to meet the trust requirements, then divorced her and left her with nothing. That woman was my best friend. She killed herself 3 years later. The room went silent. Catherine grabbed Sarah's hand. I've been waiting for someone brave enough to stand up to him, Margaret continued. When I saw what happened in court yesterday, I knew it was time. I have documents, financial records my brother doesn't know I kept. Proof that the Harrison Family Foundation is a shell corporation used to hide money from taxes and legal judgments. Proof that every charity he's ever created is fraudulent. And I have testimony about what he did to my friend Caroline 40 years ago. Why now? Rebecca asked. Why not come forward before? Because Caroline was the only person who mattered to me, and she's been dead for 37 years. I had nothing to gain and everything to lose. But watching Amanda do to you what my brother did to Caroline, I realized that my silence makes me just as guilty. I won't be silent anymore. Where are you? Rebecca asked. I'm at a hotel near LAX. I fly to Switzerland tomorrow where Robert can't reach me, but I can meet you tonight and give you everything I have. They met Margaret Harrison at a Starbucks in Santa Monica at 8 that evening. She was 73 years old, elegantly dressed, with Amanda's same sharp features softened by age and what looked like genuine remorse. She handed Rebecca a file folder 3 inches thick. Everything's in here. Bank statements showing money laundering through the family foundation, tax documents proving the charities claim expenses that don't exist, and my testimony about Caroline Winters, the woman my brother married and destroyed in 1987. Why did you keep all this? Sarah asked. Margaret's eyes were sad. Because I always hoped someone would need it, that one day someone would fight back hard enough to make it matter. Caroline tried to fight. She hired lawyers, filed complaints, told her story to anyone who would listen. But in 1987, people didn't believe women who accused powerful men of lying. She was labeled hysterical, gold-digging, mentally unstable, the same words I've heard my family use about you. What happened to her? She lost everything, her reputation, her nursing license, because my brother claimed she stole drugs to feed an addiction she didn't have. Her custody of her own children, because he bribed a judge to rule her unfit. 3 years later, she drove her car into a lake. The police called it an accident, but I knew better. Robert killed her as surely as if he'd pushed her in himself. Sarah felt tears running down her face. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be angry. Use that anger to stop them from doing this to someone else. Margaret looked at Rebecca. These documents prove the charitable donations are fraudulent. If you file them with the court before the transfer is complete, it should freeze everything. When did the transfers finalize? Rebecca asked. Tomorrow at noon. Robert accelerated the timeline because of the court ruling. He's scrambling. Rebecca checked her watch. It's 8:30 p.m. The courthouse is closed. I can file an emergency motion tonight, but I need a judge willing to review it outside normal hours. I know a judge, Margaret said. Judge Howard Chen, Superior Court. He was a friend of Caroline's. He'll take your call. Agent Victoria Chen, when Rebecca called her, confirmed that Howard Chen was her uncle and that he'd been investigating the Harrison family informally for years. Within 2 hours, Judge Chen had reviewed Margaret's evidence and issued an emergency order freezing all Harrison Properties charitable donations pending investigation of fraud. At 10:45 p.m., Robert Harrison received notification of the court order. At 11 p.m., he called his daughter. Sarah knew this because Amanda called her 60 seconds later, screaming, "You did this! You and that traitor Margaret! Do you know what you've done? I stopped you from stealing $500 million. That money is mine. I earned it. 4 years of pretending to care about you. 4 years of playing house. 4 years of my life wasted." "You didn't waste 4 years," Sarah said quietly. "You created 2 human beings who are going to spend their entire lives knowing their birth mother never wanted them. That's what you did with 4 years." Amanda's breathing was ragged. "This isn't over. My birthday is in 3 days. The trust administrators can override the court order if I meet the requirements independently of the charitable route. I still have time." "Time to do what? You lost custody. Your marriage to Marcus is fraudulent. You have nothing." "I have money, Sarah. More money than you can imagine. And money buys anything. Judges, doctors, witnesses, evidence. You won one battle, but I will win the war." The line went dead. Sarah looked at the others in Catherine's living room. Margaret had tears running down her wrinkled face. Catherine looked terrified. Jen was already pulling up news feeds to see if the Harrisons were making any public moves. Rebecca's phone rang. Agent Chen. "We just got word that Robert Harrison is liquidating assets, selling properties, transferring funds to offshore accounts, destroying documents. He knows we're coming for him, and he's running. But here's the interesting part. Amanda just got on a private plane to Singapore. She's fleeing the country. Can you stop her? We don't have grounds for arrest yet. She's free to travel. But Sarah, if Amanda leaves the country, she abandons any claim to custody of your children. The court will consider that abandonment of parental responsibility." Sarah felt one of the twins kick, then the other. She's giving up. She knows she lost the money, so she's cutting her losses. It looks that way. But at 6 a.m. the next morning, Sarah woke to Catherine shaking her shoulder. "Sarah, you need to see this." Catherine's laptop showed a press conference. Amanda Harrison Chen, looking composed and professional, was standing in front of microphones in what looked like a Singapore hotel. "I want to address the allegations that have been made against me," Amanda said to the cameras. "My ex-wife, Sarah Mitchell, is a deeply troubled person who became obsessed with my family's wealth during our marriage. When I ended our relationship, she began a campaign of harassment and false accusations. I'm currently in Singapore, consulting with attorneys about filing defamation charges. As for the children she's carrying, I pray she gets the mental health help she needs before they're born. I'll be fighting for custody from abroad to protect those innocent babies from an unstable parent." The press conference had been viewed 8 million times in 3 hours. "She's controlling the narrative," Jen said, making herself look like the victim. Rebecca was already drafting a response. "We'll issue our own statement, present our evidence publicly." "Evidence that will take months to verify," Sarah said. "By then, the damage is done. People will remember the rich woman's accusations against the poor lawyer, not the truth." Dr. Patel called at 7:30. "Sarah, your blood pressure readings from your home monitor are critically high. I need you at the hospital now." "I can't. Amanda just—" "I don't care what Amanda did. Your blood pressure is 165/105. You're at risk for stroke and seizure. The babies are at risk. Hospital. Now. That's not a request." Sarah, Catherine, and David made it to Cedars-Sinai by 8:15. Dr. Patel took one look at Sarah's vitals and made a decision. "We're delivering today. These babies are 33 weeks and 2 days. That's viable. They'll need NICU time, but they'll survive. You won't survive much longer at this blood pressure." "But Amanda's press conference, the case, I need to—" "You need to prioritize your daughter's lives over winning a public relations battle. Sarah, if you stroke out, you can't protect them at all. Let me deliver these babies safely. Let your friends handle Amanda. Be a mother first. Sarah looked at her father, who took her hand in his trembling one. Your mother would tell you the same thing, honey. Those babies need you alive more than they need you fighting. Sarah closed her eyes and felt the twins moving inside her, oblivious to the chaos surrounding their existence. Dr. Patel was right. Nothing else mattered if Sarah died before they were born. Okay, Sarah whispered. Deliver them. Dr. Patel nodded. Let's get you prepped for surgery. Catherine, David, you can wait in the family room. This is going to take a few hours. As the nurses prepared Sarah for the emergency C-section, Rebecca arrived with news. Judge Foster issued a ruling. Based on Amanda fleeing the country and the evidence of fraud, she's granted you full, permanent custody pending the criminal investigation. Amanda has no legal claim to your daughters anymore. Sarah felt tears of relief mixing with fear. So I won. You won the custody battle, Rebecca said. Now we just need to make sure you survive to raise them. They wheeled Sarah toward the operating room, and she looked back at the people who had saved her. Catherine, who had given her refuge. Jen, who had fought beside her. Rebecca, who had believed in her. Her father, who had never stopped loving her. And somewhere in Switzerland, Margaret Harrison, who had finally chosen truth over family loyalty. Tell them to be ready, Sarah said, as the anesthesia started to take effect. Amanda isn't done. She's never done. But neither am I. Sarah opened her eyes to the sound of 2 babies crying. Not her babies. She couldn't hear her babies. Her hand went instinctively to her stomach and found it flat, empty, wrong. Dr. Patel appeared beside her. Sarah, you're awake. The surgery went well. Your daughters are in the NICU. Are they alive? Sarah's voice came out as a croak. They're alive. 3 pounds 2 ounces and 3 pounds 4 ounces. Breathing on their own. Sarah, they're fighters, just like their mother. Catherine rushed into the recovery room with tears streaming down her face. I saw them. Sarah, they're perfect. Tiny, but perfect. I need to see them. In a few hours when you're stable. Right now, you need to rest. But Sarah couldn't rest. She had just given birth to 2 daughters she might still lose. Not to medical complications. To a woman who was currently in Singapore telling the world Sarah was insane. Jen arrived 30 minutes later with her laptop. The press conference has 17 million views now. But Sarah, people are starting to question Amanda's story. Someone leaked the prenuptial agreement online. The one proving her marriage to Marcus is fake. Who leaked it? Patricia Wong. She's in hiding in Costa Rica, but she sent it to every major news outlet with a full confession about being hired to destroy you. Sarah, the narrative is shifting. Rebecca appeared in the doorway. Judge Foster wants to see you tomorrow. She's accelerating the final custody ruling based on new developments. What developments? Amanda's father was arrested 2 hours ago. The FBI raided Harrison Properties headquarters and took Robert Harrison into custody. Wire fraud, tax evasion, bribery of public officials, and conspiracy. Margaret's testimony combined with the documents she provided gave them everything they needed. Sarah felt something between her ribs that might have been laughter or might have been crying. He's actually in jail? Federal Detention Center, no bail. The charges carry mandatory minimums of 15 years. 6 hours after surgery, Dr. Patel finally let Sarah see her daughters. They wheeled her down to the NICU in a wheelchair, every movement sending pain through her incision. But when Sarah saw 2 tiny babies in incubators, wearing hats smaller than her fist, the pain disappeared. You can touch them through the ports, the NICU nurse said gently. They know your voice. Talk to them. Sarah put her hands through the openings and touched the smallest fingers she'd ever felt. Hey, babies. I'm your mom. I'm sorry it took me so long to meet you. I was busy making sure you'd have a safe place to grow up. One of the twins wrapped her entire hand around Sarah's finger. That's Emma, the nurse said. She's the feisty one. Pulled out her feeding tube twice already. And that's Sophie, Catherine added, pointing to the other incubator. She's quieter, but her vitals are stronger. Sarah stayed in the NICU for 2 hours until Dr. Patel made her go back to her room. But that night, sleeping in a hospital bed with her daughters 20 feet away, Sarah felt peace for the first time in months. The peace lasted until 3 a.m. when Rebecca called. "Sarah, Amanda's on a plane back to Los Angeles. She lands in 4 hours." Sarah sat up too fast and pain shot through her abdomen. Why is she coming back? Because her father's in jail and her mother just had a stroke. Catherine Harrison is in intensive care at UCLA Medical. Amanda's the only one who can make medical decisions. So she's not coming for the babies? I don't know what she's coming for, but Judge Foster moved up the hearing. It's today at 2 p.m. "Sarah, you just had major surgery yesterday. You can't be in court. Watch me." Dr. Patel arrived minutes later, having been alerted by the nurses that Sarah was awake and agitated. "Absolutely not. You're on morphine. You can barely sit up. You're not going anywhere. My daughter's future is being decided today. I'm going." "Sarah, you could rupture your incision. You could hemorrhage. You could die." "Then I'll die fighting, but I'm going to that courthouse." Dr. Patel made a sound of pure frustration. "Fine, but I'm coming with you, and if your vitals drop even slightly, I'm pulling you out of that courtroom myself." At 1:30 p.m., Sarah was wheeled into Department 47 of the Los Angeles Superior Court, wearing a hospital gown under a borrowed jacket, with an IV pole attached to her wheelchair, and Dr. Patel monitoring her vitals. Judge Foster took one look at her and shook her head. "Ms. Mitchell, I appreciate your dedication, but this is extreme even for custody cases I've seen." "I need to be here, Your Honor." "Noted. Now, where is Mrs. Harrison Chen?" As if summoned, Amanda walked through the courtroom doors. She looked terrible. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. Her makeup couldn't hide the dark circles under her eyes. She wore jeans and a sweater instead of her usual designer clothes. She looked, for the first time since Sarah had known her, human. She looked directly at Sarah, and her expression was unreadable. Harrison Blackwell was not with her. Instead, she had a public defender, a young woman who looked barely out of law school. "Your Honor," Amanda said, "I'd like to address the court directly if I may." Judge Foster raised an eyebrow. "This is highly irregular, but proceed." Amanda took a breath. "I came here to tell the truth. Not the version my father's lawyers wrote, not the story that makes me look good. The truth." Sarah felt Catherine grab her hand. "Sarah Mitchell is telling the truth about everything. I married her under false pretenses. I lied about my identity, my family, my intentions. I manipulated her into carrying children I never actually wanted. I did it for money. $500 million to be exact. And when she figured it out, my family and I tried to destroy her systematically." The courtroom was silent. Even Judge Foster looked stunned. "I'm not asking for custody," Amanda continued. "Those babies deserve better than me. Sarah is their mother in every way that matters. I'm just the person whose DNA they unfortunately share. But I am asking for one thing." "What's that, Mrs. Harrison Chen?" Judge Foster asked carefully. "For Sarah to know that none of this was her fault. She didn't miss red flags. She didn't fail to see who I was. I'm very good at lying. I've been trained since childhood to manipulate people for financial gain. My father made me practice on homeless people when I was 12. He'd give me money to convince them to do degrading things. Then he'd laugh about how easy it was to control people who needed something." Sarah felt bile rising in her throat. The woman she'd married was worse than she'd imagined, but also, maybe, capable of honesty for the first time. "Why are you telling me this now?" Sarah asked quietly. Amanda finally looked at her, really looked at her. "Because my mother is dying, stroke induced by the stress of my father's arrest. The doctors say she has maybe a week. And she told me something this morning that I can't unhear." "What did she say?" "She said she was proud of me, that I'd executed the perfect plan, that even though I lost the money, I'd proven I was a true Harrison." And I looked at her lying there, half paralyzed, knowing she'd never be able to attend another charity gala or lunch with society friends. And I realized I didn't want to be a true Harrison. I didn't want to be proud of destroying you. Judge Foster leaned forward. "Mrs. Harrison Chen, Are you saying you're willing to voluntarily terminate your parental rights? Yes, completely. Sarah gets full custody, I get nothing. And in exchange, I'm offering my testimony against my father in his criminal trial. I know where every body is buried, literally and figuratively. Agent Victoria Chen, who'd been sitting in the back of the courtroom, stood up. Your Honor, the FBI would very much like to speak with Miss Harrison Chen about that testimony. I bet you would, Judge Foster said dryly. Mrs. Harrison Chen, I'm accepting your voluntary termination of parental rights. Ms. Mitchell has full legal and physical custody of the minor children. This matter is closed. Agent Chen, she's all yours. The gavel came down. Sarah stared at Amanda, who was now surrounded by FBI agents. This was victory. Complete, total victory. So why did Sarah feel empty? Amanda looked back at her one last time before the agents led her out. For what it's worth, Sarah, you were the only person who ever made me want to be better. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to actually try. Then she was gone. Dr. Patel checked Sarah's vitals and swore. Your blood pressure just spiked to 170. We're going back to the hospital right now. But before they could leave, Marcus Chen appeared in the courtroom. Not the confident tech heir Sarah had seen at the engagement party. This Marcus looked scared. Ms. Mitchell, can I speak to you for just a moment? Why would I talk to you? Because I need to apologize, and because I have information you deserve to know. Rebecca nodded that it was okay. Marcus sat down heavily in the gallery. I never knew the full extent of what the Harrison family was doing to you. I knew the marriage was a business arrangement, but Amanda told me you were on board with it, that you were getting paid well and were happy to help her access her inheritance. I believed her because I wanted to believe her. It made what I was doing less terrible. What were you doing? Sarah asked. Using the marriage to solve a problem for my family. We're being sued for patent theft, as you know. Having Amanda as family meant having Harrison Properties as an ally. They own the building where the judge in our case lives. They own properties where half the jury pool lives. We thought the connection would help. Did it? No. Your firm is still destroying us in court. Turns out justice occasionally works regardless of who you know. Marcus looked at his hands. I'm dropping the complaint against you. The ethics charges, the conflict of interest allegations, all of it. You should be able to keep your law license. Why? Because Amanda recorded every conversation we had about our arrangement. She's giving those recordings to the FBI as part of her cooperation deal. My family is about to be indicted alongside the Harrisons. My father told me to disappear to Singapore and wait it out. But I'm tired of running from consequences. I'm staying. I'm testifying, and I'm trying to make things right, starting with you. Sarah felt the last piece of anger dissolve. Marcus was a coward and a conspirator, but at least he was trying. That was more than most people did. Thank you, she said quietly. Will your daughters be okay? I saw them in the NICU this morning. I hope that's not creepy. I just wanted to see them. Why? Because they were almost going to be my stepdaughters, and I needed to see what I almost destroyed. Sarah thought about that. They'll be okay. They're fighters. They get that from you. After Marcus left, Dr. Patel physically lifted Sarah back into the wheelchair. Hospital, now. You've won your case. You've gotten your apologies. Now you need to heal before you can mother those babies. The next 2 weeks passed in a haze of recovery and NICU visits. Emma and Sophie grew stronger every day. Sarah's incision healed. The media coverage of the Harrison family scandal reached a fever pitch when Robert Harrison's trial revealed decades of corruption, fraud, and abuse. Margaret Harrison testified for 3 days, bringing documents and recordings that painted a picture of a family that had operated like a criminal enterprise for 40 years. Amanda testified for 2 days, systematically destroying her father's defense. Catherine Harrison died in her hospital bed, never having regained consciousness, with no family at her bedside. The jury deliberated for 6 hours before convicting Robert Harrison on all 37 counts. The judge sentenced him to 25 years in federal prison. Marcus Chen pled guilty to conspiracy charges and received 3 years plus restitution. His family's company collapsed. Amanda accepted a plea deal, 7 years in federal prison in exchange for her testimony and cooperation. Before she was sentenced, she wrote Sarah a letter. Sarah read it in the NICU while holding Emma, with Sophie sleeping in Catherine's arms. Dear Sarah, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't forgive myself. But I want you to know that watching you fight for your daughters taught me something I'd never learned from my family. Love isn't a transaction. It's not something you calculate or manipulate. It's what you showed me when you worked 80 hours a week so I could pursue my fake art career. It's what you showed when you carried children you thought were ours. It's what you're showing now, sitting in a NICU after everything I did to you, making sure those babies know they're wanted. I'll spend the next 7 years in prison thinking about the person I could have been if I'd been raised by someone like you instead of by Robert Harrison. Take care of our daughters. Teach them to be like you, not like me. Amanda. Sarah folded the letter and put it in the folder where she was keeping all the documentation from the case. One day, when Emma and Sophie were old enough to understand, she'd show them everything. They deserved to know their story. What are you going to do now? Catherine asked. Heal, mother my daughters, figure out who I am outside of survival mode. And then? Sarah looked at her daughters, these tiny miracles who'd survived everything from family warfare to premature birth. And then I'm going to help other people survive what I survived. 3 months later, Sarah brought Emma and Sophie home to a new apartment. Not in Echo Park, where the memories were too painful. Not in Catherine's place, where they'd been cramped. A modest 2-bedroom in Pasadena, close to her father, with a small second bedroom that doubled as Sarah's office. Jen helped her set up the nursery. Rebecca brought over a bassinet her own kids had used. Margaret Harrison, who'd relocated to Los Angeles after testifying, sent a trust fund for the twins, with a note that said simply, "From Caroline's friend." Sarah returned to work part-time at a small family law firm that specialized in LGBTQ+ custody cases. The Bar Association had dismissed all charges against her after Marcus withdrew his complaint, and 3 other attorneys testified about Harrison family intimidation tactics. Her first client was a woman named Jennifer, whose wife had emptied their bank accounts and fled with their adopted son. Sarah listened to Jennifer's story and heard echoes of her own. "Can you help me?" Jennifer asked, crying. "Everyone says I don't have a chance because she has money and I don't." Sarah thought about rooftop restaurants and prenuptial agreements and everything she'd learned about fighting people who thought money made them invincible. "I can help you," Sarah said, "and I know others who can too. We're going to build a case. We're going to document everything. And we're going to show that being rich doesn't mean you get to steal someone's child." Over the next 2 years, Sarah built a practice that specialized in exactly these cases. Women abandoned by wealthy spouses. Parents gaslit into thinking they were crazy for noticing financial abuse. People whose lives had been systematically destroyed by those with more resources. She partnered with Catherine, who'd become a licensed private investigator specializing in financial fraud. She worked with Jen on forensic accounting for clients who couldn't afford big firms. Rebecca handled the litigation. Together, they won cases everyone said were unwinnable. On Emma and Sophie's 2nd birthday, Sarah's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but her assistant said it was important. "Ms. Mitchell, my name is Caroline Winters, Jr. I'm the daughter of the woman your friend Margaret Harrison told you about. The woman my grandfather, Robert Harrison, destroyed. I just watched your interview on 60 Minutes about your custody case, and I realized I need to thank you." Sarah felt chills. "Thank me for what?" "For getting justice for my mother. She died when I was 8 years old. I've spent 30 years thinking she abandoned me because she was weak. But after your case exposed what Robert Harrison did, I requested her sealed court files. I saw everything he did to her. The lies, the manipulation, the destruction. She didn't abandon me. She was murdered by a system that protected rich men over poor women. And you're the one who finally made that system answer for it. I'm so sorry about your mother. Don't be sorry. Be proud. You didn't just save your daughters. You validated my mother's story. You proved she wasn't crazy or hysterical or any of the things they called her. You proved she was telling the truth. That means everything to me. After Caroline hung up, Sarah sat in her office looking at the photos on her desk. Emma and Sophie at their birthday party, covered in cake. Her father holding his granddaughters, having a good day. Catherine and Jen at the office, celebrating another case won. Rebecca with a new client who'd just gotten full custody. And one photo Sarah kept hidden in her desk drawer. Amanda at their wedding, before Sarah knew who she really was, smiling like she meant it. Sarah pulled out that photo and looked at it one last time. Then she tore it in half and threw it away. She didn't need to remember that Amanda anymore. That Amanda had never existed. 3 years after signing custody papers at a rooftop restaurant, Sarah stood in a Los Angeles courthouse watching another woman receive full custody of her children from an abusive, wealthy spouse. The woman was crying. Her 2 kids were holding her hands. Sarah remembered that feeling of impossible victory. After court, the woman approached Sarah. "How did you do this? How did you survive?" "I stopped believing that money wins," Sarah said, "and I started believing that documentation, patience, and rage properly channeled can move mountains. Also, I had help. Let me introduce you to some people." That evening, Sarah hosted what had become a monthly gathering at her apartment. Women who'd survived custody battles against wealthy spouses. People who'd been gaslit, manipulated, and nearly destroyed by those who thought power made them untouchable. They shared strategies, evidence, and hope. Catherine called it the Survivors Club. Jen called it the Revenge Squad. Rebecca called it the best pro bono work she'd ever done. Sarah called it proof that community was stronger than money. At the end of the evening, after everyone had left, Sarah checked on Emma and Sophie. They were 3 now, sleeping in matching pajamas, completely unaware of the battle that had raged over them before they were born. "Your birth mother is in prison," Sarah whispered to them. "Your grandfather died there 2 months ago. Your grandmother died before you were born. The family that tried to claim you as property is gone. But you have a family anyway. You have me. You have Grandpa David. You have Aunt Catherine and Aunt Jen and Aunt Rebecca. You have Margaret, who calls herself your honorary grandmother. You have a whole community of people who fought for you. That's real family, the kind you choose, not the kind you're stuck with." Emma stirred in her sleep. Sophie's thumb found her mouth. Sarah stood there watching them breathe, these miracles she'd almost lost, and felt grateful for every single battle she'd fought. Her phone buzzed with a message from a new client. "Ms. Mitchell, I need help. My husband is trying to take our son. He has money and lawyers and connections. Everyone says I should give up, but I heard you never give up. Is that true?" Sarah looked at her sleeping daughters one more time, then typed her response. "It's true. I never give up, and neither will you. Come to my office tomorrow. Bring every document you have. We're going to fight, and we're going to win." She sent the message and put her phone down. People asked Sarah sometimes if she regretted marrying Amanda, if she wished the past 4 years had never happened. The answer was complicated. She regretted the lies and the manipulation. She regretted the pain and the trauma. She regretted that her daughters would grow up knowing their birth mother chose money over them. But she didn't regret the fight. She didn't regret discovering she was stronger than she ever knew. She didn't regret finding her purpose in helping others survive what she'd survived. And she absolutely didn't regret Emma and Sophie. The woman who walked into that engagement party 3 years ago had been naive, trusting, and broken by betrayal. The woman standing here now was none of those things. She was a mother, a fighter, and living proof that the people who try to destroy you can accidentally forge you into something unbreakable. Sarah Mitchell had signed custody papers while pregnant, humiliated, and convinced she had nothing left to lose. But she'd been wrong about that last part. she'd had everything to lose, and in fighting to keep it, she'd discovered everything she was capable of becoming. The rich didn't always win. Sometimes, just sometimes, the truth was stronger than money. And mothers who loved their children were the most dangerous opponents wealthy narcissists could ever face. Sarah turned off the nursery light and walked to her own room, ready to sleep without nightmares for the first time in years, knowing that tomorrow she'd wake up and fight for someone else the way people had fought for her. Because that was what survivors did. They survived, and then they made sure others could too.